Son of God and one with God, if you don't understand that, if you attack God, then you're really attacking yourself. You might as well put on some boxing gloves and beat yourself up, because that's all you're going to do. You're fighting against yourself. People don't really seem to understand that when they're in mistaken identity. And then, of course, I've come to the experience that people in this world they have an idea or an experience of who God is to them. And it's a God of anger. It's a God of wrath. It's a God of vengeance. It's a God of destruction. And it's a God that condemns and judges and, puts us to hell. And so this is the idea of God that they fight against. But this is not really the real God, the true God. This is the ego construct. This is the ego's idea of what God is. And it's the ego's idea that you can find him in a Bible or a church. And that's not who, in my experience, the real God is. Because God is just unconditional love, pure and through and through. He doesn't command or demand anything. It's just so beautiful and a complete contrast to the God that the world made up, to the God that the ego made, and the two, they're not alike. So I guess that people don't want to accept their identity when they feel that that God doesn't sit right with them, but it's maybe because they're identifying with a God the ego made. And so, but all I had to do was accept my God self. And then I can come in to that state of peace. Because I accept my true identity is spirit, created by God, who is my one and only Father. And I am eternal life. That's my true identity. And when I can accept my identity and decide for God, then I can have peace in my life. Complete peace. And I remember thinking the other day, when I was experiencing, I'd gone within and I was experiencing this hatred, and it was like I was the subject of this hatred, and everybody and everything in the world hated me. But when I went within and took it within, it was like this hatred was my hatred, my self-hatred, my self-loathing, and underneath that, what it really was this hatred of God and wanting to blame him for everything, and all this anger and this rage. And then I realized underneath that what was really happening was that I had become identified with the ego. And this was, in fact, the ego's rage and hatred at God, because God refuses to grant the ego reality. And so this anger and rage is really the ego kicking off at God. But because I've been identified with the ego, I felt that it was my anger and rage And then it was funny because as a child, I always felt this intense feeling that I was fatherless. And, you know, I had no father, and if I did, he hated me anyway. But then I recognised that it's being identified with the ego, because it's the ego that is fatherless, because it has no creator. The ego is fatherless, and the ego is the only bastard here. The ego is the only bastard never to have existed. And then I started to laugh at myself, because all these feelings that I was feeling, it was the ego stuff. Yet when I identify with the ego, I identify with the ego emotions, and the thing the ego wants is for you to believe that it is you. The ego is you. And the ego covers over your divine mind and puts all these thoughts there, and you believe that they're your thoughts. Therefore you become guilty of having those thoughts, and so, you know, it's just really identifying with that. And, you know, when you choose for God, life experience becomes a completely different ball game. When I said yes to Jesus and walk in his path, the minute I said yes, boom. I mean, if you want to say yes, you need to be prepared for what's going to come, because for me, it was a rapid coming undone. And the first thing really was my job, because I said I'd been unhappy there for 2 years and was really looking for another position, but it didn't show up, and I got to the state I was so miserable, and I'd gone to work this day shortly after Jesus came in, and I never really had the courage to speak up at work. I just let people treat me like they wanted to and never spoke up, and they would really take advantage of my soft nature, you know. And they'd have me running through hoops. But this particular day, I'd gone to work, and there was no idea or thought in my mind of what the day was going to be like. And I didn't set anything up. I didn't know nothing that was coming. I was completely as shocked as anybody else. But I was in my office, and I had these gloves on and these big goggles, because I've been dealing with chemicals, and I was just wiping up this leak. And these chemists came in to my office, and I've been looking after these guys for 10 years, and not one of them seemed to be really interested in me or ever apologised for the way things was. And these, I think 3 chemists came in at once, and they started to apologise to me. Now this made my ears prick up, because I thought, why are they being nice and why are they apologising to me? And it was like, well, oh, we're so sorry that it's been hell for you, and we understand it's been a horrendous year. Well, it's been an horrendous 2 years, but we're just really here to say sorry. We understand how hard you've worked just to keep things afloat, but what we really want to say is that this next year is going to be a lot worse, because you're getting 2 more labs and 3 more chemists, and you're getting bigger class sizes and more classes, and it's just going to be hell on earth. And I just looked up, and there wasn't a thought that I was going to say anything. my mouth just opened as if I was a ventriloquist puppet and I was being spoken through. And my mouth just opened and I looked them directly in the eye and I said, "It won't be hell for me, love, because I won't be here." And I mean, their faces, their jaws just dropped, and they looked at me because they're in a state of panic, because they know how hard it is to fill this job, and they know that without me the entire system's going to come undone. And so they looked at me in this state of panic, and I mean, I don't know who was more shocked, them or me, because I mean, I must have stood there with my jaw on the floor, and I thought, where the hell did that come from? And they looked at me and they said, "Are you serious?" And it took me about 3 seconds, and I went, "Well, yeah, I must be." And so I realised that was my first prompt from Jesus to quit this job. And so I was told if I was serious that I had to resign in writing and put my notice in written form the following morning. And I did it without hesitation. There was no thought about how am I going to pay the bills, or you're the only one that's working, or what you're going to do. I just handed in my notice. And when I handed in my notice, I felt this intense relief and this intense joy and this excitement and this exhilaration, and you know that kind you get at Christmas when you know something really exciting's coming but you don't know what yet because you can't see. It was like that. It was complete joy. And yet the word had spread like wildfire around the school, and so when I was on the playground, people were coming to me, "Oh, we hear you're leaving and that. Have you got another job?" And I said, "No." I said, "But you're the only one working, and you've got a mortgage and 3 kids, and you have to have a job in this world, and are you scared?" And I said, "No, I'm not scared." I said, "I'm completely the opposite. I'm so excited and exhilarated." I said, "I can't even tell you." And then after they'd done all the moaning of you can't do this and you can't do that and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, they just turned around and said to me, "Wow, we just wish we had the balls to do it. We all want to go, but we just haven't got the courage." And so it was just like that. And what happened then was just this a falling away of what used to drive me in the job. It was a complete falling away of that. I had no interest in it whatsoever, and I just couldn't be bothered. And I wanted out of there as fast as I could, but I gave these guys, I gave them a good 2 months' notice so that they could get someone in, because I realised how difficult it was before. But boy, did I not want to be there. And then the quality of my work started to fail, because I'd been in that job 10 years by then, and I knew how to do a volumetric solution to precision, and it had to be to precision, to like 0.00001. It had to be precise, and there's no getting away from it. If my work wasn't quality and precise, I was going to get found out, because these are 18-year-old students, and their results would show what my solution was and how the quality of it was. And if the quality was good, the results would be bang on. And if I was sloppy with my work, it would show. And it began to show in my work. And like my boss came in and said, "Did you invert this great big volumetric flash? You have to invert it 5 times. I know that, I've been doing it 10 years. He says, "Did you invert the solution? Because we're getting some funny results in there." And I'm like, I don't know, possibly, but probably I didn't, because I just couldn't be bothered. And I knew then that I had to step aside and really get the hell out of there. And I could not wait